I guess, like, think about 5 iPhone 10s. You know what I'm saying?
That's his poops?
Yeah.
He's a tiny dog. I can't
Lego's
imagine.
not a tiny dog.
He's like a medium-sized dog.
He's like a large dog.
No
He's like a
way.
small Great Dane.
He's not like
He's a fairly
extra
big
large,
dog.
but like breed-wise and how they categorize him, like to vets and like
Do you know-
hairdressers and groomers and shit, it's like a large breed.
Do you know the breed Newfoundlands?
Yes.
That's what my family used to breed.
Well, yeah.
So that's a large
Those
dog
are horses,
to me.
right?
That
Yeah,
is a large
It's a
dog.
couch. It's you could ride it.
that's extra large.
Yeah, that's a
like
step above large.
That's abnormally large.
That's a never-ending story.
yeah.
Love that dog.
So we're here to talk about not dogs.
No.
Sorry.
We're here to talk
fine.
about scary movies like The Never-Ending Story.
Which a lot of the
Yeah.
times kill dogs. So
What, stories?
Horror
movies.
I
Yeah.
don't watch movies where animals get hurt.
How do you
Have you not
check
seen
ahead of time?
Jaws?
Dude, there's got to be like a website to check that.
That's your go-to for...
Well, a dog gets eaten and the shark blows up. That's 2 animals that get hurt in
Yeah.
that movie.
Animals were harmed in the making of that
I
movie.
called my mom and told her to call PETA about it. She said they made the movie in the 70s and there was nothing she could do. I was pissed.
To me, the epitome of "Don't you dare" is "I Am Legend." Did you guys see that?
Oh yeah, the dog gets
He
owned.
puts his dog down.
becomes a fully vampire
Yeah,
dog.
that's a nice way
Vampire
to put
dog.
it.
That movie's about vampires?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
kind of like zombie vampires.
I see. Yeah, it was like a apocalyptic movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
So modern horror movies.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Not particularly. I mean, there's like a diamond in the rough, of course.
Right.
Just cause, but the way that it's been going is, I mean, horror's been going this route, the whole modern horror route, which is like a bunch of jump scares, nonsensical bullshit. It's been going that route for like a long time, but there's a lot of stuff that led up to that specifically, I think.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, well, I feel like horror movies are especially susceptible to tropes. Like it's why you had like nothing but slasher movies in the 80s and then just more and more jump scares and like spooky dolls and like
And found footage now.
yeah, found
Paranormal
footage.
Activity was one of the worst things to happen to horror movies.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, a lot of people like that stuff. I don't really like Paranormal Activity that much. I've seen all the movies. None of them really made me like. I didn't enjoy my time watching it.
So what are
Wasn't
you looking
fun.
for when you watch a movie like Paranormal Activity? What are you looking to get scared? Is that
I was looking for what the trailer advertised it as, is like a bunch of people in the audience with a green tinge to it because it's that nighttime filter going, oh, like jumping out of their chairs.
you're like, I want to be that?
yeah, like I want it to be like a fun experience, but it wasn't as. I don't know, when I think of a fun experience in a theater, I'd have to say most recently was like It, because like the crowd was very like with the movie, and even though it did have a lot of those jump scares and stuff like that in it, the movie overall was fun and the characters were fun to follow.
Right.
which horror movies usually don't do. Usually the characters, you're kind of like rooting for them to just go.
You and Matt were talking about how when you guys, I don't know if you saw it together,
Yeah.
but when you saw it, like the crowd was like super into it.
Yeah,
And,
which built me up, so maybe I get pumped.
When I saw it, the crowd wasn't into the scares at all. The crowd was fully invested in the love triangle, which I was fucking dying. It was so great.
Yeah.
Like when
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Be
All
vague
right.
about it.
All right.
You can be vague about
I spoiled
yeah.
Jaws, so
it. The shark dies? How'd they make Jaws too?
it actually survives. I'm just kidding. It's the other parent that got
Every
mad.
little giblet of shark turns into its own mini shark, like Terminator.
Yeah.
That makes
Yes.
as much sense as the movie's actual lore, honestly.
Of like isn't it like Jaws' son or some?
It's like Jaws, like that's the revenge, I think. Is like Jaws the revenge.
Is Richard Dreyfuss in the second one?
Richard Dreyfuss.
I've only ever seen the first one.
Richard Dreyfuss, I believe, is in the second.
I think he is in the second one. And then the third one is set in SeaWorld and was shot in 3D and has none of the
It
original
was
cast
shot
or
in
characters.
SeaWorld.
Yeah. It's set in SeaWorld where Jaws, like I guess his grandson, invades SeaWorld and is fucking shit up. And it's, of course, it's like SeaWorld that doesn't actually resemble SeaWorld, where there's
Yeah.
glass tubes and weird shit everywhere. But
I was gonna say you're not in a lot of danger at a SeaWorld. Maybe danger of feeling sad.
yeah.
Sorry, Richard Dreyfuss was not in Jaws 2. It was Roy. Roy was in it.
Yeah.
Roy was in.
Roy Beatty.
Yeah, sure.
I don't remember who.
I have a question for you guys. What was the last scary movie you saw that scared you?
It.
It
scared you?
Yeah, I don't like
was,
jump scares.
It was fun for me. I didn't mind it that much. I hate jump scares, but those jump scares were
Jump
so
scares are
predictable
scares.
that they never got me.
To me, they are scares.
No, I'm talking about a movie that disturbed you.
They like got under my skin.
Yes.
Oh.
See, this is the problem with horror because like I remember a bunch of horror movies that I've seen, but all of them were kind of like just like, oh, I saw that, I'm gonna forget about it.
Right.
There were a bunch of jump
Yeah.
scares, blood, teenagers screaming. You know, they hit all the beats, but nothing was memorable.
Yeah, that's a really like big thing about the genre is how disposable the movies are.
Yeah.
I did see a memorable horror movie, if you call it that. I saw Mother, and I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
I
I
always
wanna
was
see
Mother,
that.
yeah.
Because it was like super different.
New Darren Aronofsky flick.
Yeah, it's very
He's an
Aronofsky.
interesting
I heard you
guy.
either like it or
Yeah.
you hate it. So.
The viewing audience hates it. It got an F on Cinema Score,
because-
which almost nothing does.
That sounds like a good Aronofsky movie to me.
yeah.
Because people were saying like the movie was marketed as like an invasion horror movie, and like I get that. I'm not too bothered when a movie is opposite or not at all what the trailer advertised, because when I go to a movie, I like to kind of be surprised, because I'm getting to the point where even if it's horror, if it's action or whatever, you kind of know the beats that are going on.
People complain if the trailers are too dissimilar from the movie, and then people complain if the trailers give away the entire movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is just not watch trailers.
I mean, like I honestly, I watch a trailer.
Then how do you know what to watch? So yeah.
I watch a trailer, I'm like, that looks interesting, I'll go see it. I thought Mother looked interesting by the trailer, I went to go see it. It definitely was very interesting, I will say that.
Yeah.
It's hard to recommend it, as I've said on Twitter, to like a mass group, but if you want to watch something where you're not expecting what's going to happen next, and it's very just odd, I guess at some points. I don't know, it's hard to explain it without sharing stuff.
Well, the Black
but-
Swan. You've seen the Black Swan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that has like little tinges of like disturbing shit happening in the background.
Say they're more
like,
than tinges.
Well, like I mean, like some people don't notice on the first viewing of like the pictures.
Mother
that
beats
you,
that
there's a lot
by
of
a
subtle
It
mile.
doesn't have
Oh,
shit
yeah.
like that though.
It
just
beats it by
builds
a
and
mile.
builds. Okay,
the
cool.
the thing in Black Swan that got me was the hangnail part.
Oh.
That part I hate. I still can't watch it.
Nail stuff in general.
but-
yeah, the Ring.
But back to your
Yeah.
question about like,
Some
is,
shit in there.
it's awful, yeah. The
like-
oh yeah, because that's the one where it like puts the
nail
finger
goes
down
through.
through the nail.
The
Yeah.
finger-
Not a
Nail.
fan of that.
Yeah,
Nail,
fuck that.
The more specific the body horror, the worse it is to watch.
I went back and rewatched Twin Peaks Firewalk with me, since Twin Peaks The Return just ended. And in the original series, the murderer puts like little tiny pieces of paper under the people's nails.
Cool.
And in the TV show, when they take the piece of paper out, they just put tweezers in and pull it out. And in Twin Peaks Firewalk with me, the movie, they just pull back her entire fucking nail. And watching that just like destroyed me. It's awful.
That was District 9 did some stuff with nails
Yeah.
too.
Oh, piss! Yeah,
when he's in the bathroom.
Yeah, when he's
Ugh.
falling apart. Same with
I hate it.
The Fly, the 85
Great movie.
Oh
with
yeah, I
Jeff
love
Goldblum.
that.
That's all like fingers falling apart. And,
That movie is so good.
That's the genre.
yeah,
Fingers
perfect
get messed
Cronenberg
up.
body horror. Yeah,
The last movie I saw that really disturbed me was called The Fourth Kind, and that came out
Like
probably
Close
in-
Encounters.
Yeah, it came out in like 2009.
is that the one with the
Yeah.
owl?
Yeah.
and it's
Okay.
it's found footage, but it's like a found footage that makes sense.
They shoot it like it's a documentary, and it's very believable as a documentary. And it's about, there's
Extraterrestrial?
first encounter where like
Okay,
you
so it
see
is
a
aliens.
UFO. There's a second encounter where like you see an alien. There's like a third encounter.
Which is like
I
Contact.
don't know all of them. And the fourth one is when you're taken by the alien.
I think third is Contact because that was the whole Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
I haven't seen the fourth
You haven't
kind
seen-
or the Spielberg
The Fourth
movie
Kind?
where
Oh,
there's a big.
terrible. I
don't think they're
symphony at the
related,
end.
but-
I know. I'm just saying I haven't seen either.
Yeah.
Close
So I
Encounters is a
can't.
great
Alien
film.
movies are scary to me.
There was like the 40th anniversary or something of Close Encounters recently. It was playing a bunch in theaters for a week.
I highly recommend it.
I
It's a good time.
should have went and saw it, but
To me, like, the definition of a horror movie getting under my skin is like it changes my perception of something and makes me scared of that.
That's a really good point.
Like the idea of like I just got home from the movies and I'm gonna leave all my lights on while I go to bed, or
Yeah.
like now I'm scared of sinks, or like something really specific, you know? Like that's when I'm like, oh, that kind of fucked me up a little bit.
Yeah, I would say the last movie that I have actually found like legitimately scary is Contagion, which is a Steven Soderbergh film about like a global outbreak killing
It's like the
people.
quarantine
And-
kind of movie.
Yeah, and that movie is notable for it's like calling it a horror movie is a real stretch, but it's
same
just
with Mother.
yeah, it's Contagion is defined by how like kind of I guess like deceptive and methodical it is. Like it's a very like fact-based movie around just like trying to present it objectively without like sensationalizing it as just like jump scares and shit, where it's just watching everybody on Earth die and like the protagonists start to die and it's just a real bummer. And it all kinds of ideas about just like never touch your face or you'll die, and especially as like kind of a germaphobe, that movie was pretty effective on me.
You should watch Cabin Fever.
I love Cabin Fever. Cabin Fever is an almost unwatchable movie. I'm very mixed on Eli Roth, but
Eli Roth is a I don't know how to explain it, but I'm trying to think of a film that I've actually liked of his. They all just seem like films that are in the news a lot, that are like, this is a big deal. This is like, can you believe he went and filmed this with actual natives?
Oh yeah, no.
Like
what's that movie called? Green? Because
I saw Green Inferno.
I watched it too. Yeah.
So
it's terrible.
I thought it was really bad.
It's like not an interesting movie.
But I mean, like that gets to the whole point of like horror movies today. It just seems like it's like we have this idea, let's just go run with it. Like horror movies, a long time ago, there was a distinct Freddy and Jason. You remember those horror icons distinctly. It wasn't just about killing the teenagers.
Yeah.
Like they turned it but that's what it kind of turned into.
Is that just our nostalgia for that period of horror?
What other horror icons have come out recently? Good horror icons that are just as recognizable as Freddy, Jason,
the killer with the baby mask from Happy Death Day.
No, see, it's like those movies have taken the killings. It's like, oh, we just need teenagers to die.
But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think people were sick of those slasher movies in the 80s, and they were just pumping them out.
I mean, people were sick of them, but people kept seeing them. And especially,
I think it's
like,
kind of true of modern horror too.
Kind of the funny thing about 80s slashers is that they have like die-hard devotees. Like there are people who are obsessed with like the expanded Freddy versus Jason universe.
Oh my god, the Freddyverse,
which I really love. And that is something those movies actually did work to like cultivate, like the fright. Jesus Christ, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the Dream Warriors. I think it's 4. Sorry if I'm wrong, but like
I would not know.
They actually were working to like make it into like a story where it actually had like a mythology, and then like the kids try to overpower Freddy over the course of like multiple films. Like,
it's interesting.
They're shitty movies, but
right. But at least they had some thought behind them.
Yeah.
Besides, like, and then this kid gets killed, and then this kid gets killed, and then oh no.
In my theory, there's two things that are really ruining modern horror. And the first is jump scares, because jump scares are not scary. They are not the thing
They're startling. They're
not going to scare you when you go home after the movie, though.
Right.
Well, it's the difference between horror and terror.
Yeah.
Where terror is just being shocked, and horror is actually being
Jump scares
disturbed.
are cheap. Anyone can do a jump scare. I could do a jump scare right now, fucking clap my hands or scream, and people would jump. Yeah.
Just have Matt just blow the audio out.
Disturbing. That's a whole other level. That makes you think about the movie. That makes you want to tell your friends to see the movie.
Right.
We need disturbing movies to come back and jump scares to fucking go away.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's really hurting the whole genre in general right now is that the only time that you're allowed to see horror movies is October and fall. No other time of the year are horror movies released. And I feel like
bad horror movies are released all throughout the year.
Yeah,
I mean,
Asylum's
any
always
movie
putting
could be
them
that,
out.
really. But I just feel like, why are they only limiting themselves to just a Halloween release? Like, I know a lot of like big budget movies want to release in Christmas time because they want to get in before the big award season rush, or they want to get people who see movies on Thanksgiving or Christmas Day, respectively. But I think that there's a market out there for horror movies all year round.
Yeah.
And they're really hurting their demographic and their entire market by only limiting them to just the fall season.
Well, and they market them as like spooky Halloween times. It's not horror can exist, and like if it's outside of that bubble, it's like a gimmick, like Krampus or something. It's like, oh, we're not doing Halloween, we're doing Christmas. And it's like,
admittedly, Krampus was a half decent movie, but
Well, that's the thing. It's like the tone of Krampus was cool. Like I saw what they were going for.
it's like a Joe Dante monster
but it felt
movie.
very laid back for what it was going for. Like the cinematography felt very laid back.
Yeah.
Like, just the shots and just the composition, everything. Like, I don't know. When I think of a movie like Krampus, I'm like, it would have been perfect, like quick, flashy shots and stuff like that. But it was like very like kind of wide and still, and it felt like sometimes the characters like improvising with each other too.
Oh,
like, it had
definitely.
that feeling.
Like Adam
Sometimes
Scott
that can
and
drag a
everybody just
scene out.
riffing.
You know what I mean? So, but Horror, like for me, I've never been a big fan of horror because I'm a big baby. So
Yeah, me too.
when I go see a horror movie, I'm either wanting to have fun. That's no. I'm pretty much just wanting to have fun because like if I go, I'm like I'm gonna be disturbed. It's more the anticipation of is this gonna be like a good disturbed or just one of those Eli Roth type of hey I'm gonna
Yeah.
throw you. I'm gonna throw Hostel 2 at you. No, Hostel with the blowtorch in the eye to make you squirm.
And to an extent, what I've been thinking about it is weird preface is that I always feel like I'm bragging when I say this, but I watched horror movies as a kid instead of Disney movies. I grew up on them 100%, and like horror movies just like do not scare me. Like,
did your parents just let you loose with the VCR and they're like, just watch whatever you
I
want?
don't know why they were so cool with their kids watching sex and violence, but for some reason I saw tons of it as a kid, and so especially like. Jump scares like don't work on me at all. Like except in video games they work perfectly, but in movies they don't.
I think it's almost different conversation in movie or in video games because
totally
it's you're in a game like PT or something where there's like terrible shit happening everywhere and all you can do is walk around.
Yeah,
that's a different experience from Dead Space where you can blow the monster's head off as soon as you see it.
Yeah.
Would you say like Five Nights at Freddy's is like the video game representation of modern horror movies?
That's a pretty good
Yeah.
point.
Pure jump scares.
Well, we'll have to see when the Five Nights at Freddy's movie
environment.
comes out.
It's
Jump
gonna
scare.
be big with the demographic of people who played that game.
Oh, yeah.
Is it still coming out? Because the popularity is kind of.
It's gotta be.
I think it has enough brand recognition that
Still, you think?
even if
Yeah.
it came out like next Halloween, I think it would still kick ass.
But I was gonna say actually that something that in general I enjoyed it.
The new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was gonna be darker and stranger and
I
like
thought it was
a
going to be
little-
darker too.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to go more with the book on the tones of like the racism stuff and all that.
Yeah,
was
they
in the book,
chickened out on that
which
stuff
would have been.
big time.
I think I don't know. Adding depth to a movie really adds a lot, of course, because like it gives you more things to understand the characters. You can and if you understand the characters more, you can reason with them. If they're like Mike in the movie, I think it's Mike, right?
Yeah.
Mike in the movie, he's just kind of bullied, and it's kind of off reference of like, you know, my parents burned in this thing, and there was a racist
furthest-
cult event, you know. But in the book, it's like, hey, what's the bully's name?
Henry.
Henry's dad in the book was like super racist. So that like kind of went on to his child, and it was all, you know, he said the N-word a bunch.
well, I
and-
know that people who've read the books have said that the bullies are often scarier than the monster.
Yeah.
Because the bullies, like, it has to feed off of fear.
Yeah.
And the bullies are just psychopaths, so they're even less human.
It's very Stephen King though, the bullies.
Yeah.
Like that.
There's a lot of movies that have changed like horror over time. Like, you know, like the Blair Witch Project changed the entire world. Saw changed the
Did you see
entire
the
market.
new
Yeah, the new Blair Witch.
Oh, I
sucked
didn't see
balls.
Blair Witch.
It turned
really.
into a monster movie.
Yeah, they
Was it full of
changed
jump
completely
scares?
What it was. It was jump scares in the movie.
Was there a single jump scare in the original Blair Witch?
There was like one or two.
Like,
where it was just like a loud noise
the
and that's
fear.
it.
Yeah, you would hear a twig snap and you're like, what was that?
It went the complete opposite direction of the original. Because the original
That's a
was like the
bummer.
fear of the unknown. Because they
Right.
don't show you.
Yeah.
And in the new one, they show you the witch. And it ruins the entire...
Yeah,
Right.
The director did it on purpose. I think he like, don't quote me exactly on this, but he's like, the first one was kind of like, you don't see her at all. It's this kind of mystery thing. And this one, I want it to be more of a monster movie where they're being chased by something.
So why not just create
He
a
wanted to give the
choice.
feeling of them being. I mean, when I first saw the witch in the movie, I was a little like creeped out just because she looks odd, and I'm a big baby.
Slender Man the movie.
When she's peering, when she comes by the doorway, she's like this long, lanky thing. I'm like, I get easily creeped out, so I shivered a bit. I think the first movie where I was like, wow, this jump scare was effective was in Insidious. It wasn't the dumb red demon behind the girl one. It was have you seen Insidious?
I haven't.
Nope.
Have you seen?
I've seen Insidious.
Then I'm just gonna explain this to Jory. You know, remember the alarm goes off downstairs. The door's open. There's no music or whatever. It's just kind of like, that's weird. She goes up to check on the baby, and it's not like anything jumps out at you. There's this kind of face just behind there's a crib, and there's one of those shawls, I guess.
Yeah.
And behind that, like, you can barely make it out as a face. And then, like, just when you make it out, the loud kind of piano comes. But I thought that was
that's
effective
way
because
smarter,
it's
yeah.
like they get the audience to notice it, and then like the fear kicks in.
Yeah,
like,
that kind of thing in general. Like, my favorite thing from it, without being too spoilery about it, but the TV show you keep seeing, the first couple of times you see it, they don't comment upon it at all, and like that's like the closest that movie got to being just like creepy and weird for me.
Yes,
like
yeah.
that
And
kind
it
of
was
thing
really
is
well
really
done
fun.
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, my point was like there's a couple movies that have actually changed the entire horror genre, and I feel like it hopefully will be bringing back the disturbing and more interesting scares into movies again. I hope that this movie helps change things again because I'm so tired of jump
And that was the point I was bringing up is like it's a bummer that it is full of jump scares. I thought that it wouldn't be.
It doesn't have
full
that
of-
many in the grand scale of things. Though.
There were a lot
Like,
for me.
Yeah, sorry.
I-
But did you
Barry.
actually jump?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even knowing where most of them were, I still
Could I share this on the G Club?
Please.
Okay.
Please do.
Before the movie. So Barry, you should have been prepared for every single one of these jump scares.
Okay,
'cause I
let
sent
me
Barry-
preface your preface.
Okay.
I hate jump scares.
I
They
do too.
startle me every time. Any loud noise makes me jump, and I hate it because it does. 9 times out of 10, a jump scare is just like, bah, gotcha. And it's like, it's not servicing anything for the plot or the characters or anything. It's just a cheap trick to make me go, ah. And then I'm back to just watching the movie. It makes it so, it pulls me out of the experience, okay? When I go to a movie, this is what I'm getting to now. This is why I want to sit down.
See, Barry
When I go to a movie,
definitely wants to
I want to
preface
be told a
something.
story. I want to be transported to a world, whatever it is, whatever the movie is. When I know there's jump scares, it makes me on edge. It makes me always like leaning
Then why
forward.
did you tell me to send you the link?
Because I thought it would help, and it didn't.
Okay, yeah, I need to hear about this.
See, now I forced my way, so I have to mention it now.
No, I was going to mention it even if you didn't.
I offered, so I can't completely be
Ryan
like.
informed me of a service I did not know existed.
It's called it's Where's the Jump and
.com.
and it explains in detail every
Not too much detail. They give you context.
Not enough context.
It's like an essay.
I'd already seen the It's miniseries, so I already knew like the main plot beats.
Yeah.
I haven't read the book, but I assumed it'd be roughly the same, and it was roughly the same. So it wasn't like, whoa, what? They face off against a clown? Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, they
Basically, there's a website called Where's the Jump, and it explains where every minor and major jump scare is in a movie. And I
with timestamps.
with timestamps. And Barry read that and still got
still
jumped.
jumped.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you have to read a website like that, maybe horror movies aren't for you.
That's my point, though.
The thing is, jump
That's
scares
why
really
I'm
are,
here.
Jump scares truly are a different thing than like being scared of movies.
Because there were things
Yes.
in it that were genuinely disturbing and scary that weren't jump scares, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed that stuff. I got value out of that. I don't get value out of, oh man, there's a big scare with loud noise. Bang,
Yeah.
we got you. It's
Certain, certain scares work in the favor of the film to like put you on edge.
a couple do.
Like like famous jump scares.
Right.
Oh, you mean like historic jump scares?
Like when we're talking about like big famous jump scares, like I think it's from like The Exorcist 3 with the nurse.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Or,
end of Carrie is
yeah.
probably one of
Oh,
the
yeah,
most
it's a great
famous.
The end of
It's
Carrie.
the only
I-
jump scare in the entire movie.
I
Yeah.
also, the only jump scare that I am like a big fan of is the ending of Friday the 13th, the original one.
seen it.
Where he pops up out of
Out of the water.
Out of the water.
Like, yeah, that one feels like a great story
Then in
resolution.
the second one, she
Right.
goes, "It was
And
just
I've-
a dream."
I've also seen people scared as shit of that, like 40 years later, which
Yeah.
I adore.
yeah.
I think the most effective jump scare I've ever really seen is whenever there is a car crash in a movie and it's done from the perspective of the passengers. Where they're just like hanging out in the car, do-do-do,
There's a
and
lot
you
of
just see this
commercials
like
that do that
silent
these
car
days.
like barreling
Well, you
towards
see
them.
it coming. You're like,
Right.
you have a
yeah.
moment
And then you just
to
have this
brace.
loud crash, but then it's not like an added sound in post. Obviously, it's not real, but it's not like this non-diegetic boop noise
Yeah.
of like, we got you. It's like, that's a crash sound. That's a real sound. That's a real thing happening to those characters. It's not this like superficial thing added on top just to make you go, oh no.
For
Yeah.
a minute, I really liked that, but then for some reason, it became a really big gimmick.
Well, it's a big
tons of
trope
movies
now.
started doing
right.
it.
So
yeah.
now it's kind of not cool.
Just
Well,
like-
it was never cool, but it was effective.
Suddenly getting hit by a bus from the original Final Destination.
Hmm.
Like all movies started doing that left and right, where like
Well, now it's played in like comedies.
yeah,
Where someone's
that's
like
true.
hanging down the street and then, whoa, no, a car hit them.
Totally.
The really crappy CG version of them goes flying.
Yeah, I just watched Dreamcatcher over the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
a truly abominable Stephen King movie. It's fucking terrible. And there's a really great CGI car hit in
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that.
good.
Where, like the guy becomes like a weird After Effects puppet, like wrapped around the front of the car.
Mm-hmm.
It looks
Man.
great.
Yeah, Stephen King, man, hit or miss.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, sorry. The thing I was going to say about it, though, that at least makes me really happy is that even though it's full of bullshit jump scares, it's interested in telling a story. And I feel like at least it's going to put the nail in the coffin of torture porn. Like, I feel like
I don't know if that's ever going to go away.
I don't know. I feel like after the
new
success
Saw
of
movie is coming out really soon.
and it's going to do...
There was a maze and everything at Universal's Haunted Horror Nights of Terror.
Thank you, Ryan.
I am
DM.
I'm really interested in that because I think Saw 7, the last couple of them were still doing pretty big money, but I feel like nobody gives a fuck about the new one.
Everybody will give a fuck.
Man.
People are going to go see that shit.
I'm so tired of, like, My Bloody Valentines and shit like that. Like... I want to go back to like
that was
fucking
bad. The remake, you're talking about like the 3D, My Bloody Valentine in 3D.
I love like interesting news stories.
What'd you guys think of Crimson Peak? Did you guys see that?
I didn't see it.
Loved it.
Yeah, because that had jump scares and that was kind of a horror. It wasn't the same kind of horror.
It was like a romantic horror, right? Okay, so
it wasn't super disturbing.
The
it was
thing
just
about that
eerie.
though, like. It actually kind of goes back to like the original kind of like horror movie roots, like the Haunting of Hill House with like Vincent Price. Like it's like this beautiful mansion that you kind of, well, I don't know about you guys, for me, fall in love with this house, right?
I think that's fair. Even for someone like me who's like, no. Like,
yeah, you fall in love with
it's
these
a gorgeous.
characters.
It was a real set they built.
I still have to see it.
It's very, very good.
I have the art of the movie book. I'll have to bring in for you after you see it.
Well, Guillermo del Toro always like.
God, that guy is a fucking genius.
Are you ready for The Shape of Water?
Yeah.
Yes.
So excited.
It's getting pretty good reviews and stuff, too.
I don't know. Would you consider Pan's Labyrinth the horror movie? Because there are scary components to that movie.
There's some
You'd say it was
fucked
a
up shit
horror
in that
movie? It's a drama with.
I would say it's a drama with like a touch of horror.
I'd say like maybe dark fantasy.
Okay, dark fantasy is
That's
perfect way to describe it.
Yeah. But there's definitely horror elements to it. It's just not
just like Harry Potter, but I'm not going to call Harry Potter horror.
I think that's part of the problem.
God, you wouldn't?
No.
Oh my God, it's this fucking Goblet of Fire Part 1.
Movie.
Scariest movie I've ever seen.
Where his name comes out of the goblet. Who put that name in there?
I'm not gonna lie. When I was a kid, with the whole like werewolf part, I thought the werewolf looked so creepy in the Prisoner of Azkaban movie.
When it's Lupin.
Yeah, because
they did a great job with it.
It's not like a furry like werewolf.
No, he's got a big old snout.
He's like a naked mole rat looking
fleshy
thing.
They did a good job making it suitably feral.
I think they did a good job too, comparing it to like say Twilight, that's like romanticizing all of these like monsters.
Yeah.
And Harry Potter went like this is gonna be fucking disgusting, like it's supposed to be kind of thing.
I actually was going to say when we were talking about Pan's Labyrinth that something that I think a lot about modern horror movies is just how uninterested they are in being, I don't know, I can't think of a non-pretentious way to phrase it. Horror
pretentious
movies
way.
In being an actual film instead of just instead of going, hey, we can make a movie for a low budget and it'll come back with like 5 times the amount of money.
Well,
totally. Well, but
that's
even,
what it is.
There's even a lot of really terrible old movies.
For example, all of those are just for that reason.
But the thing is about The Purge, as shitty as those movies are, they at least, the point I was going to make is that they have an intention. Like there's like allegorical stuff in them. Like even though, don't get me wrong, they're shitty, but like
when I first heard the idea of The Purge, I was like, huh.
It's a good idea, but then you see the movie.
Sure, but at least there's that idea. A lot of movies
if the execution is bad, I'm not going to be like, that was a good idea. Good job, The Purge.
Groundhog Day with more murder is not an interesting idea.
Especially when you mix in 50 Cent in the sound design of the trailer.
Right. But when you have a world and there's no laws for a day of the year and it's this big purge, like that's an interest. You could tell stories in that world. That's interesting.
And admittedly, they haven't.
Yeah. But the idea of that is, and I agree with what you're saying, and it's kind of get to your point, Ryan, that like a lot of horror movies are really low budget, especially compared to other big tentpole holiday movies that come out. They have minuscule budgets and can have huge returns if they're successful.
Oh, yeah.
You would think that in an environment like that, you'd be more encouraged to take risks as a filmmaker. And it seems like they just kind of make the same spooky killer running around. He's gonna get you.
Definitely.
Just with like one tweak, like maybe he got no legs or like whatever it is. Like they put like one twist on it to make it fresh and give it a pun name, and then that's it.
What if the doll was alive,
right,
and scary looking,
and wasn't named Chucky,
and it was Anna?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's actually based on a real story.
Well,
That also
quote
became.
unquote real story.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know the thing about
Just
Fargo?
like Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
No.
Fargo starts with a screen that says based on a true story. It's
Oh, yeah.
100% fictional.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no one that says you have to make sure it's based on a real true
I mean,
story.
Paranormal
Yeah.
Activity and Blair Witch Project were the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, these were actual real tapes that were found.
If I'm not wrong, too,
They
I
went
think,
all out with
I
Blair
think,
Witch. They like hid the actors.
Oh yeah,
I was
totally.
amazed. When I saw that, I must have been like, I don't know, 9 or 10.
I think it was late 90s.
Maybe late 90s.
Yeah.
But like, holy shit, I thought that movie was real.
As a kid, it was
I
very
was
convincing.
terrified.
Yeah.
They did a really great job with that.
And
Sorry,
the-
we cut you off for Jory.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's kind of backpedaling now, but like I think the Coen brothers like never like would have defended that it was a true story.
No.
Like I think when asked about it, they were like,
Yeah, it's made up.
they talked about how,
But they just wanted that
was a
like
gimmick.
nugget to sort of impact your perception of the story.
totally.
Yeah.
Because when it's based on true events, it sort of grounds it a bit more. And
Well,
Same thing happened with the Amityville horror movies, like the first one from the 70s was all based around it being like a gimmick. That's the one with all the flies.
was
and
the most
shit.
recent Amityville the one with like Ryan Reynolds?
Is it right? I think it's
Which
Josh.
you know
I
what
think
I'm
it's-
talking about?
I think
There
it's-
was like some sort of like movie with Ryan Reynolds. It was like a horror movie.
I think
Was that
the
Amityville?
newest Amityville horror
I don't
is
think that was
Josh
Amityville.
Brolin.
Which was that?
I could be dead wrong about that, but
As I said, I don't watch many horror movies.
Have you guys seen Cabin in the Woods?
I love
Yes.
that movie.
Cabin in the Woods.
Love it, love it,
That is
love it.
like
So,
the perfect way to make fun of jump
horror
scare movies.
comedy
Yeah.
is 100% my jam.
Yeah.
Because then you have a jump scare and then there's real payoff because it's being played as a joke.
The movie's title card is a joke on jump scares.
Right. It just is like, boom.
Yeah.
It gets
The
you.
moment that happened, I was in a theater with Daniel. We looked at each other. We were like, "Oh my god, this is gonna
'Cause
be fucking amazing."
In a
Amazing.
horror
It was such a
comedy,
fun
I get startled
movie.
and then I laugh.
I wanna
And that's
rewatch
such
it.
a good feeling compared to, oh, I got startled and now there's like a monster, I guess.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I don't care if it sounds like I'm jerking this movie off. I love Cabin in the Woods.
Dude, it's
Oh,
so
Cabin in the
good.
Woods
is really fun.
It's so
no,
fun.
and it's paced so well too.
Yeah.
Like by the end of the movie, when all the crazy shit's going down in the lab, like it's such a good payoff.
It kind
It's
of
really
lifts the
smart.
curtain up on scary movies too, and like tells you a little bit about behind the scenes of like the formula writing that modern day people go through with it. I feel like it's
like the chemistry
Plus.
between the two Office guys.
Totally.
But
Like
you-
Richard
you
Perkins.
pick-
What's the other guy's name? Richard. There was Richard.
I don't know.
mermaids.
Jenkins, I think his name is.
But yeah, the whole thing with, oh, you pick your cursed artifact and then what's the monster that's going to get you? It's just so like paint by numbers,
Yeah.
make a
Love
horror
it.
movie.
Well, and Joss Whedon is apparently a more complicated figure than we realized, but it still is. I do like that movie for how it's interested in talking about like
That's
the
a nice way to put it,
misogyny
Jory.
of slasher films and
yeah,
stuff.
they touch
Yeah.
on a lot of shit. But not just Cabin in the Woods. Like Evil Dead Part 2 is a hilarious horror movie.
Army of
I-
Darkness
Army
then
of Darkness
Oh my
kicks it up
God,
to 10.
love
Blew it out
those
of
movies.
the stratosphere.
And I
God.
the series kind of has its ups and downs, but I highly recommend Ash vs Evil Dead, the TV show.
Yeah, I haven't
it's
seen that.
actually a
I
ton
gotta
of
see
fun.
that, yeah.
Seasons 1 and 2 are really good.
If it's anything like the maze that I went to at Universal's Haunted House Terror
Available
Nights.
now through early November.
How much does it cost? It's got to be too expensive for me, right?
I don't know. You could go right now to Universal doc. I don't know.
Too easy.
This is not a paid deal. This is not a sponsored deal.
I love Halloween Horror Nights. Have you guys been?
No, I haven't.
In fact, I just went this weekend. Did I?
You would have a heart attack and
Hey,
fall over.
Universal, if you want to sponsor us, hit me up on
Dead. Barry
email.
would actually die, and it would be
Yeah.
so fun if we could film Barry walking around that
Nope.
park. Oh my God, Barry! They chase after you with chainsaws when you're walking around the park.
That does
and
not
shit
sound like a
that.
fun time to me.
You
Barry,
would
you get to
die.
wait in
Oh my
line for an
God.
hour and a half to be rushed through a house where they do nothing but go. "Ah!"
I thought we agreed no jump scares.
Did I
my
get you?
God.
Did I get you, Barry?
You got
Oh
me
my
good.
God, it's so true. But you can watch the videos now on YouTube. Like they
Yeah.
actually, like Universal Studios themselves actually
like,
uploads
walkthroughs?
walkthroughs of their haunted houses.
That's kind of lame. That kind of defeats the purpose a bit.
Yeah, but you know their whole
have to
reason
be
of
there.
the whole reason of the haunted houses, right, is they're sponsored to promote the movies. So people go
They're
through the haunted house.
advertisements.
Yeah,
Right.
they're advertisements.
That,
so
that you wait in line for.
There's an
making
It
their
haunted
money
house,
back.
isn't there? There's an It haunted
Some
house
of
on
them.
Hollywood
Some
and
of them.
Vine, right?
Oh yeah. Right now there is one set up on Hollywood and Vine. There's like an actual house made, and they have like a person dressed as Georgie greeting people when they walk into the house.
Is it a child dressed as Georgie?
No, it's just like a person who's like short.
Wait,
If they had an actual child, that would be adorable.
Wait, they got
and
a
I
little
would go
person
in a
to play
heartbeat.
Georgie,
no, no,
or
no.
an actual child?
On Hollywood
kid-
and Vine, they took an old house and they put a skin on the house to look
float
like the
too.
house from It.
Yeah.
And you can walk through it.
We're
it's
having
promotion for the movie, and they have like a person who's short dressed as Georgie. And
But it's
he's
not a
like,
kid. It's a
not
it's a
kid,
little
it's an adult.
person.
It's not even a
Okay.
little person. It's just like a person who's like maybe like 5'1" or something like that.
Parallel conversation about how the kid who played Georgie in It is the cutest fucking
was
kid
really
that has
cute.
ever
We
lived.
give him that hug and he made him the boat. It was a good time.
Why is it a she?
Thanks,
Oh yeah,
Barry.
boats are girls.
Oh yeah.
He sure got
that was
stumped.
The script.
Whoa.
I have like a certain formula that I love in horror movies, and I don't know about you
What's
guys.
that?
I like big Victorian houses. I like
Crimson Peak.
period dramas.
Crimson Peak.
Period.
And I like just interesting psychological. Like, there was a movie that came out last year, maybe this year, and it was called A Cure for Wellness. Did you guys see that movie?
Oh, I heard.
Oh,
about
I
it.
didn't. God damn it! I really should have.
It was.
Okay. What was that about? I'm remembering the.
It was about a businessman who had to go to this therapy retreat center.
Oh,
to get his
I didn't see it
coworker.
because it had Dahan in it, and I'm not a huge
Who's
fan.
Dahan?
Dane DeHaan, is that his name? He
The
was
main
from
guy?
Chronicle. He was really good in Chronicle. And then
Okay.
I haven't
You're
liked
talking about the main character of the movie.
much. Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't like much of his other
I don't
work after
normally like
Chronicle.
that guy. I found him incredibly sexy as the lead of this movie.
Would I, so
he
so
looks
I should
so
watch it
tired and
because
worn out,
I'll
and I
find
like
him
that.
sexy.
Yeah, this will turn you around.
But I also find like Pennywise the Clown, the new one, Bill Skarsgård, extremely sexy too.
Oh, so does
Yeah.
the internet. Yeah,
I-
With his
good
eyes
company.
poking in different directions.
No, dude. Okay, so they were like,
I don't know if I'd want to see a picture of him without makeup. But
he's
Him
He's
doing
nice
the Pennywise smile without makeup is actually kind of charming.
He's very interesting looking, which is more important than I think a sexy person. A person who has more character is more sexy than someone who's the typical ideal of sexy. But anyways, they actually wouldn't let Bill Skarsgård do some interviews to promote the movie on like nightline talk shows and things because they didn't want women to see him and realize how sexy he was before they saw the movie. Because instead of seeing a scary clown, they see a sexy man, which I
think
actually
you would still see the scary
Tim
clown.
Curry had the same thing going.
I love.
That's a
Tim
sexy
Curry.
man.
Oh yeah, too. And it's a big problem for me when I watch The Wild Thornberrys. Like Nigel Thornberry is such
God.
an attractive
could
character that I get
resist?
so
This podcast is
distracted.
about horror movies, right?
And the hot bods.
Whatever. People get mad. It's like, you guys should do stuff that's not just one singular topic.
Well, we're talking about the genre.
Exactly.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of things.
I mean, really,
You
this
tell
is
him,
just,
Barry.
Yeah.
I like this. Have you seen?
we
this
could have done
in
an
the
It podcast, but we decided not to.
I just like talking with you guys.
I like
Yeah,
chatting with you
that's
too.
really nice, yeah. But yeah, like I mean, I feel like everyone has a certain formula that they really like for horror movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, for me,
For me, it's without jump scares.
What is there then?
Monster House. Did you like Monster House, Barry?
Was that the animated movie?
It's like the
Dan Harmon,
Steven
Rob
Spielberg
Schraub one.
produced
Yeah.
Hotel
like
Transylvania.
animated
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's really- I liked it.
Hotel Transylvania is too scary for me.
And the way Adam Sandler cleans up at the box office and what it represents about
That's the true
pollution
horror.
of-
Him and his
yeah.
friends are going through Netflix now. They found a new best friend.
Right. No, and apparently, like, that movie bums me out because Gendy Tartakovsky tried to take control and like have like more directorial hand on the second one because he came in really late on the first.
Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently, like, Adam Sandler and Robert Schmeigel like went over his
Schmeigel?
head. It's just Schmeigel. I don't know why I put the H on there, but
Schmeigel.
He schmeigled me.
they
You're gonna
like,
get schmeigled. Sorry, please, George.
turns it into more of a verb, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, they like totally took control out of his hands. Like he wanted to make it a more interesting cartoon, and they wanted to make it an Adam Sandler comedy.
He's a very smart man, so I would trust him.
I agree.
To the moon
So
and back.
when it comes to horror, you really like Suzy. You really like the aesthetic stuff. Like you like the costume department, the set dressing,
the
and stuff like
artistic
that.
side.
Yeah.
Because like
Because horror movies do I like the weathering that they do.
Yeah.
The aging, I guess, is what you should call it.
Sure.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
okay, so like the disturbing side is more artistic. It's like set design. It's like costumes. It's like whoever designs the monsters.
It puts you in the world.
Jump scares is all sound design,
Yeah.
and I feel like
And like direction.
it's
cinematography.
it's definitely an
Some-
art, but I
sometimes
feel like
they
it's
put them
cheap.
in after they.
Well, it's like the slow zoom down the hallway with no sound. Like, oh, what's it gonna be?
Like an example of a movie that was amazing costume and monster design and music even is the Silent Hill first movie.
I really enjoyed that movie.
We talked about that.
I did not expect to like that movie.
That movie got me into playing Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And like people usually hate video game movies like with a passion, but I really fucking love the first Silent Hill
Oh
movie.
yeah. And admittedly, it's a pretty weak adaptation of the ideas
It
of
is.
Silent
Oh,
Hill.
if I was already a
it's-
Silent Hill fan, I don't think I'd like the
Yeah.
movie.
No,
but
yeah.
it's still a fun horror movie.
But
Yeah.
it was so interesting and new and like exciting. And then the second one came out, and it was just a cash grab. It used the same soundtrack as the first movie. They didn't make a new soundtrack for it. Like they turned the villain into the hero, and it was just so cheap.
Was
and
it full of jump scares?
Oh my god!
Because the first
Okay.
movie didn't have, they had like 2 jump scares?
Spoilers if you never played fucking Silent Hill. Pyramid Head likes to rape things.
Sure
right?
does. That's kind of the whole metaphor.
In the second movie, Pyramid Head saves the main character.
That's such bullshit.
What's the metaphor there?
I-
I'm getting some mixed
laughed.
metaphors.
I laughed. And Aaron and I think we walked out before the end of the movie happened because it was so bad.
Like, is it like one of those moments like where King Kong comes and punches the T-Rex at that last moment? Like, it's
Yeah.
like, Pyramid Head, you saved us!
And
Yeah.
he just slowly nods and
Then
walks away.
yeah, he nods and
I
walks
think
away.
get one.
I think the same beat has happened with Leatherface like 3 times.
Yeah.
Like Freddy has like shifted between hero and villain, and so like Jason also has a couple of things
Right.
like
Well,
that.
when you have 1,000 movies in a franchise, you kind of run out of ideas.
It's kind
Just
of
for the sequel,
different
it's-
when they're kind of saving the person because they want to be the person who kills them in the end.
Hmm.
But in this movie, it did not give off that vibe at all. It was just like, oh, maybe he's not a bad
Maybe
guy.
he's a good
Well,
guy.
yeah,
Maybe the
and
guy who
especially-
rapes everybody's good.
This was actually something I mentioned in the video game adaptation episode of the G
Oh,
Club.
yes.
Was
Do you remember that episode,
in-
Barry?
You can watch it on YouTube.com.
At Universal Studios.
Universal Studios Hollywood Horror Nights. Put you in the movies.
in the Silent Hill movie, like Pyramid Head isn't a metaphor for anything. Like in Silent Hill 2,
Nothing's
he's like,
really a metaphor for
yeah.
anything.
In Silent Hill 2, he's like a deliberate phallic metaphor.
Well, isn't that the thing with every Silent Hill, that every monster is like somehow a
Yes.
interpretation of their psyche and what they're
Yes.
going through?
Yes.
That would have been a really cool
It
concept
would
for
be
a movie.
cool movie.
Yep.
That would be a movie I would be really into.
Yeah.
I love
'Cause then
this
there's, like,
psychological horror.
Well,
I mean,
they
because
are.
that's like kind of the thing with it is, and it's been a trope in a lot of horror movies of like, oh, it
It
takes
is
the
the same
shape
with
of,
it.
of
That
your
is
biggest
what it
fears.
is.
yeah.
Right.
It's super
And-
psychological.
Well,
That's
and
why
that's the thing.
sink
And
bled.
not to,
Right.
not to. Okay, let me know if
Because
this
I hate
gets
when
too
I get
spoilery.
when I cut myself shaving and I get blood on my thing.
Yes.
That was the point.
That was
right?
her dad's fear.
I understand that scene now.
Okay.
It's about shaving.
Yes.
if this gets too spoilery, let me know and we'll tell Matt to cut it out.
Okay.
But I think something about it is that it turns that premise of like it becomes your worst fear into just like a plot point for how the creature could potentially be defeated.
Yeah.
Like they don't actually use it to make any effective scares.
I
All
don't
they
think
do
that's
is
a big.
just like
I don't think that's a spoiler.
They
yeah.
haven't really even come out and said that yet. Like that's like a book thing. So
That's true.
I think
But-
honestly, like my biggest problem with the It movie was just the canned child sound effects.
You don't like the child laughter happening in the distance.
you
Like
know
that.
what?
Yeah.
But people like
Put that in a horror
actually probably
movie.
scares them.
No, that doesn't scare me.
That doesn't scare you?
As much as a big
You're
baby
really
is
going
a-
hard on Barry.
God,
I-
But I understand.
do.
But I understand
Okay,
the
was-
movie's about kids. You know, maybe that was on. It's probably on purpose. The movie's about kids. They
But
put
why
in-
would kids be scared of other kids singing?
I don't know.
That's the thing that adults find creepy when it's in a weird context.
How come in The Shining the kid's scared of the 2 kids standing in the
Because
hallway?
that's scary. The Shining is really messed up.
and they go, "Hello, little boy."
Can we
Go
talk
to
about The
your-"
Shining? Can
Please.
we talk about that? Is my
I love The
favorite
Shining.
movie of all time.
Actually,
only saw it
I
re-
actually haven't seen it all the way through.
Oh,
I only saw it
you have to come
recently
over and watch
for the
it.
first time, a couple
Every
years ago.
time I watch it, I see new things in the background that I'm like, holy shit, I didn't see that
Oh,
before.
yeah.
Like it is
Jeff the Killer.
the fucking masterpiece of a movie. Kubrick.
I thought there'd be. That's the thing is like a relatively high budget adaptation of it. I thought they were going to do more of that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like
Just like the unnerving, unsettling stuff, not the, oh, we're going to get you with the
Yeah.
jump scare. Because they would have the unsettling stuff and then turn it into a jump scare. And it's
Right.
like, you ruined that scene for me. I was having a good time.
No, it was like definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. But The Shining, it's like it's the unpredictableness of it that actually gets you. Because like,
Oh, yeah.
but
Holy
like
crap.
even with it, even a little bit. I mean, probably because I've already seen the first adaptation. It's very predictable. You know what's coming. You know the scares right before they happen.
No,
you
and-
have a feeling. You know what's happening.
And
Right.
it was making me think about this, and this is a tangent. I want to get back to The Shining, but I was thinking about like the soundtrack stuff, where like in Psycho, for example, like it's kind of like the key, like the the most famous like horror audio cue is the fucking shower
violins.
shriek. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that is like it's an assault on the audience, and it helps you be like shocked, and like it's like the point is that it accentuates the shock and the horror, whereas in a movie like It, the soundtrack almost like takes the air out of the jump scares. And no offense, Barry, I'm sorry that the jump scares worked on you, but like
None taken.
the audio ramps up so much before every jump scare.
There were some scenes where I'm like, it could have just been silent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the scare would have worked better.
I think silence. A lot of times when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, why is, like, even in an action movie, like when I hear just this sudden, like, not even action, just adventure, just dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Like just quiet down, calm down.
The sound
get
that
it.
gradually gets louder,
Yeah.
and you're just like,
the,
all right.
the horror trope is to get it louder, 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 and then quiet.
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's
they
like-
did that
it's-
every time in It.
Right. So
Well,
it's
like,
like, it's
every
like,
time
oh,
it's
there's going to be
scary.
scare. And then it's quiet. It's like, now you don't know when it's going to be. It could be now. It could be in a
But we
second.
know it's within the next 5 seconds.
yeah, and then Pennywise wiggles around and
Yeah.
comes at you.
I love just, hey, egg boy. There's like, egg boy. I love that.
That was
I
a
love
great one.
beep beep Richie.
That felt almost a little bit like a Evil Dead 2 type.
Yeah,
type
totally.
thing, where it's like
Pennywise-
I'm kind of laughing at
Pennywise
you.
is campy. Like that was like one of his
Not
like
always.
fun playing points.
Nah,
The Tim
What's
Curry
Tim-
Come
version
on,
is
Tim Curry version. was
yeah.
very
he does that
campy.
Deadite shit too, where he's like, yeah, like,
that's true.
I love that.
Well, I mean, if you, at least what I got from the movie of It is that, you know, the way he was scaring kids was the way you would scare kids. It wasn't the way you would scare adults.
that's kind of a nice way.
So
of-
like when
Well,
he was
yeah,
like
he's
when
playing
he,
off their
when he
fears.
was spoiler alert, I don't know. But
Well,
like,
is it a spoiler?
I don't know. It's just a form that he turns into.
Okay.
Minor spoiler.
Minor
you know
spoiler
when
for
when
It.
he's the leper, he's like, "Here's the pill,
Yeah.
Eddie." I'm
Yeah.
like, he could have just like jumped on like whatever, but like instead he's like doing what It does, try to just scare him, and he's just like getting in his face, slobbering. It's like, oh,
Right.
this is for the kid.
Yeah.
Especially that, you know, proves later on in the point when he's like pretending to bite off Eddie's fingers, like, like I'm like,
Yeah.
I love that shit. I love that.
I do love it
felt
when
like
the
he
villain
was
of the
trying
film
to
just
scare kids.
is a
Yes.
dick. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fun. I like that. I love that.
Something that I just thought of again with the website, the Where's the Jump. So it's this whole like catalog of different
What a
movies.
baby website.
I know.
Oh my god.
I'm a huge fan. So what I thought was really interesting.
I'm a
so
huge
That's
fan.
they
so-
give every movie a jump scare rating. It has
Yeah.
no bearing on
Ruin
how.
a movie.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
my god.
just give me 1 sec.
I'm
Barry, I'm
disgusted
sorry.
with you, Barry.
So it gives you a jump scare rating out of 5 stars, and
Yeah.
it's completely independent from like how scary the movie is. Just like, are there a lot of jump scares? Yes, no. That's like what they're rating. And if you put their list in alphabetical order, you can see the remakes of movies that they have in their database, and you can see like the original movie from 1982, 0.5 star. The remake from 2015, 4 stars.
Yeah.
And you're just like, so
I,
it's not just this perceived idea that there are increased jump scares. Like this website has proven to me
My
that
favorite
there are
example
more and
of
more
that-
jump scares, even in the remake of the same story.
My favorite example is in the original Amityville Horror from the 70s. There's a scene where a priest comes to exorcise the poltergeists and
Exercise? Oh yeah, that is a thing.
Yeah.
exorcise.
Okay.
Yeah.
or size.
Yeah, either of those.
Yeah.
He brought the
where
elliptical machine.
The priest gets like unnerved as like more and more flies come into the room and start like getting on his skin and stuff. And in the 70s one, he's like grasping at his skin in like kind of a Hitchcocky kind of vibe. And then he like runs out of the house. And in the remake, which is from like 2006 or some shit like that, the priest is in the room and there's like a single fly and he's like, oh, a fly. And the fly goes up into an air vent and he sees that there's like more flies around the air vent. And so he gets a stool and goes up and looks in the air vent. And just as he does, a cannon of flies blast him in the face onto his back onto the ground.
And that's less scary
Jory.
than just a lot of flies being annoying.
Jory, can you do me a favor? I'm on IMDb. Can you read the movie and the date, and then go down and scroll who the lead actor is?
Okay, why am I doing? Okay, the Amityville Horror, 2005.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds.
Wow.
Full circle.
If you guys want me to leave, I can leave.
Get the fuck out, Jory. Your opinion is worthless now. You don't know what you're talking about.
Apparently, I confused Ryan Reynolds and Josh Brolin. Have you been looking that up this whole time?
No, I just
Trying
did.
to
I was,
catch me?
like, I just got like in my head. I was like, was it Ryan Reynolds? I'm like, it was Ryan Reynolds.
Also, I said it was 2006 and it's 2005.
So Jory,
Wrong on both
Fucking
counts.
asshole.
now there's some people that are like, well, now I can't trust anything in the podcast. He's a liar. liar. He's a straight up liar.
This opinion-based podcast is false.
I really like The Shining, though, because it's a story that could possibly happen. And truth is always stranger than fiction.
Because it's about going crazy.
Yeah, it's about someone kind of getting cabin fever and going
That's
a little
something
bit
that
too far.
that's something that I really like about a lot of horror movies is that it's, despite all the crazy supernatural stuff that happens, they're all grounded in that. And the vast majority of horror movies, the protagonists are just everyday normal people. They're just doing their jobs, and then, oh no, I fell into this situation. They're not superheroes. They're not crazy, superpowered people. It's not like science fiction where you can have like, oh, well, they're just like an astronaut in space, and it's like harder to relate to them.
It's not like you're the chosen one. You're the only one that can
Right.
defeat the demon because your bloodline goes back 20 years.
Some like shonen power fantasy shit.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's like they're just doing their thing, and it makes it more relatable when it's done well.
I'm also
You're like, no, don't open that door. You know? Oh no, they're gonna open the door now. They're gonna get the cannon of flies.
But it did that well when it was like scary, not scary, really scary.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm really interested in horror movies dealing with like the relationship between suspense and inevitability, where like a movie like It, I feel like some of the tension, well, I both saw the original adaptation and have read the book, but like there's a lot of stuff going on where it's like, well, yeah, they're going to get attacked by a killer clown. That's the movie.
Right.
Where like I feel like something like The Shining does a really good job of putting the viewer in a position of experiencing a lot of the same doubt that the protagonist does. Where like when you're watching the film, you actually don't know what is happening, and
You don't know what to believe.
expect.
You don't know what's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that then, especially something like the POV switching, where like Jack actually stops being the protagonist, and
Yeah.
he becomes-
Spoilers: when he cuts through that axe, he's not the protagonist.
Yeah.
like stuff like that, I think is a very good kind of subversive way of doing things. Where
Yeah.
like I'm really surprised with how many movies, just like Ryan said it earlier, they do the exact beats you expect, and then the movie's over.
Did Insidious 2
my God.
get some ideas from Shining? Because that's kind of what happened. Like,
Is that the one about the astral projecting?
yeah, the dad goes crazy.
Yeah.
And they pull him back though, right? Like
Yeah.
the guys like go into the dark.
Well, they got to wrap
universe
it
and
up
pull him
so you
out.
think it's okay. So then they can do the little like, oh, the ghost is still here.
Yeah.
Go leave
mean-
it open for the sequel.
Like
Yeah.
The Shining is
Now
like,
Insidious 4 is coming out.
oh god.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a third one.
I went to go see the third one. What a fun jump scare fest. Barry, you'd love it.
God.
Sorry,
Oh my
Suzy,
God.
what were you saying?
The Shining is like, it's like that psychological scare I was talking about earlier, where like if you actually pay attention, you'll notice how off things are from the beginning. Like when at the beginning, for example, he's going in for his job interview, he puts down a magazine when the hotel manager comes up. If you look, it's like a fucking Playboy magazine. Who's reading that at an interview? He's very short with his wife. Like something's already off about this character, but you don't notice unless you're paying attention. And then as the movie goes on, it really develops into a psychosis, and it's bizarre.
He doesn't start out like
Yeah.
a character where it's like, oh man, I love this guy. He's just an all good around
No,
dad.
you
Right.
dislike him right.
Does he
from the
start off
get-go.
flawed and stuff? Okay. As I said,
yeah,
I
he's flawed.
okay. Well,
But
I
he's not
haven't
crazy.
Seen, I haven't seen, I haven't
he's
seen it all the way
just
through.
kind of
should
an
watch
ass.
it.
I've only seen bits and pieces on
You-
TV.
So
Watch it.
what's the spoiler threshold on talking about Shining then?
I don't care.
Shining's
It
been out
doesn't
forever.
matter.
Okay.
Well, it's been out forever, but I would really recommend people watch it if they don't. Like,
That's true.
For me,
If they haven't seen it, I guess we don't wanna
going
ruin
into
it
it,
for
I
them.
knew here's Johnny chopping through the door, and I
Yeah.
knew
The freezing.
the freezing, and I knew the twins in the hallway.
Just from The Simpsons.
Yeah, and I knew the typewriter. I knew those beats, but I didn't know how they're connected. I didn't know there's a lot of surprises in that movie that aren't one of those famous scenes.
The Simpsons did really spoil The Shining for all of us who were too young to see it.
I guess they
did.
Well, no, it's like,
but I
it's
still got a
highly
lot of
focused-
value because of what I didn't already know.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it because it's so good.
Yeah, because I was going to talk about something really specific in terms of like betraying audience expectations. But point is, that's something that movie does really successfully.
I want to throw
Yeah.
out there that I have been begging everybody at GameGrumps for like 4 years now to remake The Shining for a Halloween GameGrumps special. And
We would not do it
always
justice.
Fall out. Just like the fucking memorable moments for fun. Like I wanted to do the fucking door chop with Aaron and Dan. Like I wanted to fucking do the hallway little girls like with me and you. Like something like that. It would be so fun and cool.
Well, I think
I've been begging for years for that to happen. Ugh.
would it being discussed on this podcast make it less fun if it actually happened, or would it make it even more fun?
We'd have to twist Aaron and Dan's arm and see if they'd be down to do it. I
Yeah.
doubt it though. They're so busy.
We could just reenact scenes from famous movies.
Man.
It would
Shining
be
is,
a
like, the end-all, be-all.
remember that.
I'm just realizing, like, I haven't seen The Shining. I haven't seen a bunch of classic horror movies because I was a
they're still
baby.
there.
Have you seen the house?
But like, why? But I'm also on the podcast talking about how horror movies have changed from
You're
the past.
more of a modern movie watcher.
Yeah.
Well, and you had seen Friday the 13th. I mentioned.
Well, I've seen like all the like slasher stuff because that stuff isn't. It's not scary.
But that's a huge part of the history of horror movies.
yeah, but I also don't have that like I don't know. As I said, there's Shining, Rosemary's Baby, a bunch of these movies
Oh my
that
God,
like
you haven't seen Rosemary's Baby?
I haven't seen
Rosemary's Baby.
all
I think
those.
You show that to me,
Yeah.
Suzy. That kind of messed me up a bit.
That is
Oh, yeah.
another excellent. Have you seen The Haunting of Hill House?
Nope.
The original Vincent Price one or the like 2001?
Oh, with Chris Kattan?
my God.
And I'm sorry, it's House on Haunted Hill, right?
Yeah, and it's got Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Isn't that the movie where there's like they're like in a chimney and something like impales someone's head?
Like
Yeah.
another,
That's The Haunting when Wilson
No.
gets his head chopped off.
You're thinking
That
of,
was silly.
You're thinking of Hot Fuzz.
Right.
But again, that's another movie
Haunting
that
was
takes place in
very
a
silly.
beautiful
Yeah,
mansion.
silly as fuck.
you know,
Right.
So
A lot of pretty mansions.
yeah.
Yeah.
Someday.
Actually, I remember House on Haunted Hill. The remake actually scared me a lot when I was
Who's
a kid.
holding my hand?
And there's weird shit
That
like
fucking scared the hell out of me when I was a kid.
the remake has that like fucked up chamber the guy gets put into where it's like the weird zoetrope machine that
Yeah.
goes around. I don't recommend watching it. I don't think it's a great movie.
Ah!
Chris Kattan turns in a pretty great performance.
It doesn't hold up very well, but it was a movie that definitely scared me when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
Well, everything scared me when I was a kid.
You wanna know
We're
my-
back at
Everything scares you
dinosaurs'
now.
tail scared me when I was a kid.
God.
Want to know my
When they
first?
become
It's
when they
an
become
upsetting
scary
movie.
dinosaurs
Oh,
instead
yeah.
of friendly
It's a
dinosaurs.
strange idea.
Do we all remember
thank
like
you.
our
It's
first horror
crazy.
movie in theaters?
In theaters.
Like the first horror movie we ever saw in
I
theaters.
watched a lot of horror movies in high school because that was like the thing to do. Friday night, go watch the new PG-13 horror movie. Oh no, jump scare.
Mine
This is a
was
really
that.
interesting
Mine
question.
was kind of like that.
That was when I like kind of got fed up with them because that was when I was like bombarded with them every
I saw
Friday.
I saw Disturbia. That was the first horror movie I ever saw in theaters,
always forget
starring
how
Shia
young
The
LaBeouf.
Rihanna song? Oh.
Disturbia is like I would give that, if I was going to give it an arbitrary letter grade, a C.
When I was young, the scene where he's like zooming in on the vent system, and then you end up seeing that creepy corpse.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Got me.
I gotta say, I'm like Jory. I was raised on scary movies. My mom would always lean over to
Nada.
me and tell me what was gonna happen before it happened. She'd
Nope.
make predictions. So like I have that built into my mind
that's
now,
really
so I already
sweet.
know whatever is gonna happen.
You can call is Jaws horror?
No.
It's an action adventure.
That's like
I
that's
think
like that's the
There's
closest
like
thing
one
to something
scene.
creepy that I saw.
There's like when he goes scuba diving and there's the
And then the
dead
head
body.
goes,
I hate that. scene.
I do think in general people tend to consider Jaws a horror movie, and it's like
Really?
a weird kind of intersectional horror movie where it's like.
Well, it's funny because-
it's got some, and I mean, especially a director like that was actually competent making a horror movie. It's almost the same
Right.
deal as It, where it's like a really, I don't know, I can't think of a good way to describe it, like a prestige, like a kind of horror movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's interesting. That like Jaws created the idea of a summer blockbuster, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
That was like the movie that was
was
like.
it.
You're gonna watch a movie in the summer, but it's summer. You go to the beach. But like, no, now people are scared of going to the beach. But the idea that like you could, I don't know if I would, but like you could categorize it as a horror movie, and the fact that modern horror means there's a guy with a knife and he's gonna get you, and all the walls look like rust, and like everything
Yup.
is just it's all dark and gritty. It's like, no, you can do really interesting things with the idea of a horror movie, of something disturbing and unnatural, and like trying to maybe get a message across if you're feeling really adventurous. So
It's
like,
the
also,
Sixth Sense, like that. When I think of that, like the Sixth
Yeah.
Sense did a really good job of balancing the two. That's like
that's
one of
a really
the
good
class-
example.
That was when
quote unquote
Night
classic.
But that-
Shyamalan was really good.
Yeah.
that was his second movie, I think.
Oh my God.
I think Unbreakable was first.
Unbreakable.
No, no,
Unbreakable is good.
Nah, Sixth Sense
Unbreakable was
first,
immediately
right?
after Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
That was like
shit.
his like first breakthrough
Whatever.
movie.
Unbreakable is also a really good movie.
Yeah.
Not anywhere near.
That's just very
Split.
different.
Yeah, it's not anywhere near as good as Split, but
Or the Avatar film, which I've heard is stellar.
oh yeah.
But like the Sixth Sense, I thought like really rode the line because I usually hate the movies that I hated for the longest time were paranormal movies because my whole thing was about how cheap the jump scares were because it's like the ghost can appear anywhere, so there's no like like fun you can have with it. It's just like
There's no real rules.
Yeah,
It's just
it's-
kind of like you can do anything.
and when there's
so-
no rules when it comes to that stuff, I'm like, oh, then it's just put in there to make us jump, just to keep our brains looking at the screen. But like the Sixth
Right.
Sense did a lot of stuff well. Like the jumps were more in tune with the disturbingness of what happened.
Well, yeah, it
There was like one jump scare I like actually remember, which is like this little girl. There was like a little girl and she vomited.
Party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, there was a flashlight shined on
was a
her, and then
funeral.
she's like,
Oh.
and then she's like,
Yeah.
But most of the
she's like, help me.
most of the really disturbing stuff is just like from the kid's perspective.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
getting you to empathize with, oh, this kid's life sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that when I saw that as a kid, when I don't remember it exactly, but when there's the one kid that he's talking to who then turns around and you see like a huge chunk of the back of his skull is
Yeah, that's
missing.
the scene that stuck with me.
Yeah, that scene got me pretty good as a kid, where like that it was that aspect of it. It wasn't like it was scary.
No, because he just kind of casually turns around and you're
Yeah.
like, oh!
It was more empathizing with Haley Joel Osment, like, oh, that blows. This kid
Yeah.
sees this everywhere.
But that was what made it so disturbing, and it made it feel quote unquote real. It made
Yeah.
it believable that this world could exist and this kid could see dead people and whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, oh no, we're scaring you, oh, we're getting you, and it's just like, okay.
That was the perfect movie where they could have thrown in all the just most pointless bullshit jump scares.
And when they remake that movie in 5 years, you bet there's gonna be 1,000 jump scares in it.
right on.
unless you're directing it, Barry.
I'm gonna be a great horror director. That's my
Have you guys
goal.
ever seen Eraserhead?
Yeah.
No.
That is a disturbing movie.
Yeah, I
that
think
is one that sticks.
I
with me.
I've been I kind of
Is
casually
it
mentioned.
Grindhouse-ish at all?
No.
No?
Yeah, it's
Is that, wait, I'm thinking of, what's Eraserhead?
Eraserhead's David Lynch. It's very art housey.
Okay.
It's just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is happening?
Yep.
Like,
That's just kind of Lynch's MO.
Yeah,
And I,
it's-
I was
but
thinking
it's,
of,
like,
sorry, I was
2
thinking
out
of
10.
Hellraiser.
I've seen scenes
Oh,
from
yeah,
it. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I
Which
would
I
never
kind of
watch this
love.
whole
Yeah.
movie.
Every time I watch it, I'm just like, what the like, it's one of those movies where it's someone's dreams being interpreted in a weird way, and it's just like done so far, you have no idea what the original premise was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially since David Lynch just refuses to resolve something like
Yeah.
that. The way that movie ends, just like in an elliptical, abstract nightmare, is just
Yeah.
like so good.
Go see Mother, Suzy.
I want to go see it there. I really want to, because like every time Aaron comes home from work, he's like, let's watch a movie. What do you want to watch? It's always, let's watch a scary movie.
Yeah.
And
rules.
I have a feeling that he will see that movie with me. Cause
I'm
he
always like,
really
I want to watch
likes
something with colors and no substance.
Oh, baby.
Something really bright and
Barry,
happy.
just watch anime.
That's very
Yeah,
fair.
I'm just gonna watch all the anime.
I think Angry Birds is still on Netflix.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yes, God,
Oh my God.
that's what I want to watch.
If you listen to the video game adaptations podcast on universalstudios.com, Ryan does have a tendency to advocate for the Angry Birds movie.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
Boo. No,
I mean, Angry Birds is a decent horror movie.
Okay.
God,
No, as it goes. No, that like
We're derailing now.
that one
Like,
creature,
fully.
that like the yellow creature that like has the ability
The
to
the pointy one, right?
explode.
Yeah.
Like that's
Gruesome.
terrifying.
All right, I'm checking out now.
yeah, okay. Well, so in summation, I think we're all kind of sick of jump scares for the sake of jump scares.
Jump scares.
We're all, yeah.
And I just think that there's a lot that can be done with the idea of horror that's not just the tropey stuff. It just seems like that's what sells.
Well, I
so that's fine. I'm just going to stay away. I don't need horror movies in my life. I just like horror movies that get to me and tell interesting stories
Definitely.
and don't just jump out at me every 10 seconds. And
But
that
at
just
least,
doesn't really exist.
I mean, at least a few come out every year.
Really?
Good horror movies, yeah.
that don't have a ton of jump scares?
Yeah.
I'm
Like
gonna
if you look
What
in the-
came out this year that doesn't
in
have a ton of
in the
jump scares?
independent scene and shit like that. Like I'll have to go back. I don't know like specific dates. This year's been shitty in terms
Okay.
of like.
Any movie. Movies
Well, what
aren't
was a
really making
recent
much money
horror
these
movie that
days.
didn't have a ton of jump scares?
I would
It
recommend
Follows?
It Follows is
Oh.
exactly what I was gonna say.
I
The
want-
soundtrack is
I heard that's really good.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I heard that's really good. I want to watch that.
It is good. I recommend it.
It kind of crosses the line for some of this stuff, but Green Room is not super jump scary.
Green Room
it's
is
more of
really
just like
good.
being upsetting.
It's
a very viscerally upsetting movie.
Visceral was the perfect
Yeah,
way to
like
describe it.
Requiem for a Dream levels of, oh god, everything just is bad.
Green Room there's a lot of gore. It's a
hu-
very
it's
movie.
it's not a gore fest. There's one scene in particular that I know.
That one does.
It's not. It's no Saw or Hostel.
No,
The
it's not
gore is-
torture
The
porn.
gore is realistic in the situation they're in.
Okay.
It's human horror. It's the horror of there might be people actually like this.
Green Room is a very much like it's an actual like put yourself in this person's shoes. This
Patrick
is the worst
Stewart
thing that
might
could ever
actually
happen
be
to you.
out there.
Patrick Stewart is coming at me with a southern accent.
I would be okay with that.
See, I mean, there have been a number of films that have come out. I mean, as I said,
fair,
but it's
yeah.
like it's cluttered with a bunch of horror.
And because I'm such a wuss when it comes to jump scares, I feel like I have to ask someone 100 times when they're like, "Oh, you should really see." I'm like, but it doesn't have a lot of jump scares.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it has like a couple.
That's-
and I watch it and it's like, gah, 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 gah. Like, it just makes me not enjoy it as much because I'm always on edge. And not in the way that's fun, but the way that's like annoying.
Yeah.
I would there's a movie, have you guys seen The Invitation? It's on Netflix, and I think it's a perfect like tension and release experiment where it's a pretty long, very, very slow burn. I don't really know what to say about it. It's a domestic thriller where some people go to a party at some old estranged friend's house, and it's just about like being in this person's shoes. And I think it's very effective in being emotional, where it really is very based around social stuff that's more relevant, where it is like, these are people that I love, why are they doing this, why is this happening, like
Interesting.
Testing like the boundaries of like, almost like, without spoiling anything, like it's like people being like polite to a fault, and just like, it's so much of it is
Canadian
really,
horror movie.
yeah, so much of it is really relatable, that the tension and release and just like wondering what's going to happen as like you're watching the timeline on Netflix get further and further to the end of the movie, and
Right.
it's really effective and it's really good, and zero jump scares.
You got my vote.
Okay.
Just saying domestic horror reminded me of a movie I wanted to see and didn't, which was 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, it's good.
I heard that was very good.
It's not. It's like I would call it maybe arbitrary
I don't wanna
letter
give my
grade
review
B
'cause
minus.
I don't want it to sink in. There's no spoilers in my review, but it's just my thought on the whole.
Well,
thing.
give me your
us,
elevator
Ryan.
review.
My elevator review.
Yeah.
I really liked 3/4 of the movie.
Yeah, that's actually. I would maybe say the same thing. You mean the last fourth?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say which fourth I didn't like.
Shit.
I'm just saying
Right.
that there's a fourth in there.
It's the second fourth, isn't it?
All I'm
mean,
saying is
that's-
it's like
There's a lot of movies I love where I'm like, but the third act kind of sucks.
Yeah.
what I will recommend. Watch 10 Cloverfield Lane and then read. If you have the time, read the original script that it's based off of. The original scripts,
I
the
haven't.
ideas are really like it's a much better film.
Really? I
Because
should read
J.J.
that.
Abrams added his certain fourth in there.
And it's a
Yeah.
that fourth, and I'm not gonna say it could be the third, could be the first.
Yeah.
The first
You
fourth.
never know.
It's really out of left field.
Yeah.
Sounds like a later fourth.
No.
It could be.
How would the first fourth be out of left field, Jory?
Could you imagine if the movie it's just a black screen, just a fourth of the movie, and all of a sudden it starts. Whoa, that was unexpected.
I mean,
Came out of left field.
I am thinking about the opening shot of Blue Velvet by David Lynch, which
Yeah.
definitely when it's going through it's going through this nice white picket fence suburb, and then there's a guy mowing his lawn, and then it goes beneath the lawn, and there's just bugs writhing on top of each other, and you're like, huh, this took a turn, and then we're 3 seconds in.
There's a bunch of stuff like that in his whole filmography.
Yeah.
Or I was actually, I kind of mentioned Twin Peaks earlier, and I think especially watching Twin Peaks: The Return before watching it kind of ruined it to an extent for me, just because like Twin Peaks: The Return, there's shit up and down. I don't know if I recommend sitting through all 18 hours of it, but there's just
that's a hard sell.
There's so many moments in it that are just, what was that?
Yeah.
Like there's literally abstract imagery throughout it. And so we've been a little hard on it. I think actually it's mostly a pretty
I enjoyed
good
it. I
movie.
just
an
wish it
amazing
didn't have jump scares every
What are you
scene.
talking about? We've been hard on it. You've been hard on it.
You were mixed on it at best.
Super
I
fast.
loved it.
That's true. Yeah.
I said
Suzy
I
loves
had a
it,
lot of fun.
which is
There's
respectable.
There's just certain decisions that like were done, as I said, just like the canned childhood stuff and the jump scares with the sound design. Like
The only
sound
like
design is
jump
questionable.
scares that were jump scares alone was like the walkie-talkie noises. I thought.
no, but those I can defend because those are actually sounds within the universe, and that stuff has
Yeah,
actually happened.
I would
in
more
real life.
defend that.
But those
than,
were like dead silent, and then all of a sudden loud screech from walkie-talkie. That's a jump scare. Traditional
yes,
jump
that
scare.
is a jump scare.
But I can
also-
defend that jump scare.
I do too, even though it
because
annoys
I've
me.
I've been alone in the house, and all of a sudden like my phone will go like doo-doo, and I'm like
Right.
oh, it's just my phone.
And they never did a double jump scare where it's like, oh, I guess it was nothing. Oh, there's the big scare. Like,
I once saw a movie where
do
like
hate
someone
that.
woke up from a dream twice.
Oh my god, yeah. Something from it I realized I haven't mentioned to anyone, and I'll try to say this without being spoilery, but there's a shot in the movie, in terms of like really wanting surreal imagery, the one shot that I really, really, really enjoyed is there's the shot where they stabilize the image on Pennywise's face
Yeah.
as a bunch of crazy shit is going on.
I love that scene.
I adore it. Like, that was
so
really
great.
fun.
That made the
Everyone's
whole movie
favorite scene.
worthwhile.
Yeah, very cool.
That was a great scene.
He was a very charming clown.
He is.
Real quick, I wanted to mention, because you mentioned Netflix, and reminded me, Stranger Things was a
So
wonderful horror-esque kind of throwback sort of thing, and I really enjoyed that.
It's all about
My boyfriend.
Spielberg and some of the works
Spielberg?
of Tobe Hooper. Like
it touches on it, like too. Like
Yeah, it's like bunch of kids having to go up against the greater evil.
yeah.
And it's a good trope. I like it a lot.
Hell yeah.
Stranger Things used jump scares sparingly, and I thought it did a good job with that.
Yeah.
And then it was like every single scene, and that's what got exhausting for me.
Nah, I agree.
Even though I'm a big old wuss, and I will openly admit that.
I disagree that there are jump scares in every single scene because they're scares that you know are coming.
Even if you know it's
And
coming,
they're
it's still a
delivered.
jump scare.
I
That's
agree with
what
that.
a jump scare
out of
No, and even,
order.
like-
The podcast is done.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, Barry.
Who are you, Ryan?
I am Ryan McGee. You can
Hello.
follow me at. It's in the description, but it's at Eli Ryan McGee on Twitter.
Nice to meet you, Ryan.
Or I would much rather you go check out my YouTube channel that I do with my good friend.
You only
Matt.
get one. Are you
with my
plugging
good
your
friend
Twitter
Matt.
or
It's
your
called
YouTube?
Super Mega.
So you have to get rid of the Twitter plug. You only get one.
Don't follow me on Twitter. Go watch. Actually, please follow me on Twitter. I'm lonely.
Oh.
That's a joke. I have my dog. Go, Jory.
Hello, I'm Jory. I co-developed Dream Daddy here with
Woo!
my good friends at GameGrumps.
How many jump scares are in Dream Daddy?
There's actually one jump scare.
What?
I'm actually I'm not doing a bit. I'm sitting here thinking of how many jump scares there are in the game.
It's pretty scary.
I think there's 0, but I actually am open to being wrong about it.
Okay, yeah.
There might be one.
Then
Check out
why
that
If you
game on
find
Steam.
one, let Jory know. Where can people find you, Jory?
I have a Twitter at Jory Griffiths, JoryGriffis, and it'll be in the description, so I don't know why I spelled it out.
Well, they might be listening to it on like iTunes.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
true.
kind of a pain to find the description on iTunes.
Yep.
Yeah, if you didn't know, we're on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play.
Woo.
You can listen to that there.
Get that RSS feed going.
Suzy.
Yeah, I'm Suzy. You can find me on Kitty Cat Gaming on YouTube or at Mortimer on Twitter.
And I am Barry Kramer at Razadoop on Twitter, ZZOO. And this has been the G Club.
It's strange. You just got at sulfur. Like how'd you manage that?
We're cutting that out of the podcast, Ryan. It's already over. Thanks, guys.
Bye. That was fun.
Matt, don't cut that out of the podcast. Keep it in.